What about the housing market then? Sally Mitchell is a senior mortgage broker at the Mortgage Mum. Hello, Sally.
Hi there.
Hi. How would you describe the market at the moment?
Ooh, interest.
Yeah,
That's a curveball.
go on.
Interesting, she said,
Interesting.
thinking rapidly. Um, yeah, I mean, it's been a roller coaster for everybody. If I write one mortgage, then I tend to rewrite it, two or three times at the moment because of the fluctuating rates. Earlier on in the year, we were expecting by now to have seen, the beginning of a decrease in the base rate. We haven't. Markets have revised what they think is going to happen, which has made swap rates fluctuate all over the place, which
Mm.
means that lenders have actually recently increased their rates. So where we've seen a little bit of a decrease at the beginning of this year, we're now seeing an increase, and to keep track of it,
Well,
frankly,
that's what
is hard.
I can absolutely relate to that because, like so many people in the country, I'm going to be refixing next year, towards the start of next
Right?
year, because we were on a 5-year thing, and that was, very fortuitous for us.
Yeah.
But
I'll keep quiet about that.
yeah, I know. I don't share it too much. I just nod and go, "Oh yeah, yeah."
Yeah.
But it still could be high come next year, couldn't it? Given where we are with this, and
Yeah.
I think, like you're saying, it's really, really hard to keep track of the direction things are moving on. Because one minute
Yeah.
it seems that they're moving in a better position for people who are in the kind of place that we are.
Mm.
But then it all starts sliding the other way, and you think, "Oh, who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows what it's going to be
exactly.
looking
I
like?"
mean,
You know?
timing is everything. I have definitely held off plumping for a rate for certain clients because I feel very strongly that things were going to change, and they did. But what I tend to do with people coming to the end of their fixed rate who are looking to remortgage is to get the best rate possible sort of settled 6 months before the end of their
Yes.
current term.
Do most people realise that? Because if you're going through a
I've been talking
broker or
about it
whatever,
for
then sometimes people will leave
ages.
it right to the last minute, don't they?
They will. And in fact, it's not until they get the letter from their lender that they think, oh, crikey, it's coming to an end.
Mm.
So I bang on about it all the time, but that's when you really need to use a broker.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's why the
their
lender does
job
it, doesn't it?
to do
Because
it.
it's in their interest for you to be told
Well,
right at the end.
exactly. So I monitor the market. I will be contacting you 6 months before the end of, well, hopefully in contact throughout the entire term, but 6 months before the end,
Yeah.
and looking at all the options and just securing the best things. So you've got something in your back pocket. Then whatever happens, we can swap it for something better, or if it all goes to hell in a handcart again, then we've got something that we can rely on. And it's really difficult. I think people have to give up the idea of playing the market. It's just gambling.
But presumably, for
Your
people who,
homes.
who who are refixing at the moment, you're recommending the shortest fix you can find, are you? If it's a reasonable rate ish.
It tends to be, yes. I mean, it does depend on individual circumstances
Yeah.
because some people, it works with their 5-year plan or, whatever. But generally speaking, yeah, the majority that I'm doing at the moment are 2-year fixing for 2 years.
Yes.
And even that for some people feels like a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. What about if you are looking to buy? And in terms of house prices at the moment, because obviously weaker house prices are going to be a positive. How are things looking in terms of that dynamic between interest rates and actual prices for people who are looking to get on the market?
Getting on the market or on the ladder is really, really difficult. The average first time buyer is in their 30s. They need an average of £55,000 as a deposit, which is incredibly hard to save up for if you're
Yeah.
if you're renting, paying rent. And most of them, the vast majority, have to buy with someone else. It used to be that people would be able to times their salary by about four to purchase a property. That's what you were looking at, the difference between property price and what you earned. Now it's the average is more like eight. And when mortgage lenders will lend you up to 4.5, in most cases, times your salary,
Mm.
there is a huge disparity between those. So it's a struggle. Put that with lack of affordable housing, which is another bugbear. There's just not enough on the
Yeah.
market. It makes it very, very difficult. And for first time buyers, they are the lifeblood of the property cycle, of the property market. Without them coming in at the beginning, it stagnates and slows, and that's not good. We need movement. The property market needs to keep revolving in this circle. The one good thing I'd say for first time buyers that I've noticed is that they are less sort of ouchy about the rates because they haven't experienced the low rates. It's a story from way back when. It's like when I bang on about when they were 10, 11%. They go, doesn't mean anything to me.
But that's all relative anyway, isn't it, on that
exactly
income?
So as long as they can afford it, they're not hung up on whether it's got a 5 or a 4 in front of it. As long as they can afford it monthly, then they are a little bit more sanguine.
But what are those conversations? You must have had tons of them with people who will be vaguely aware of the increase in interest rates, maybe not following it in quite the way you do, and perhaps I do because I kind of get paid for it as well, who then you turn around and go, well, here's the deal, here's what's on the table, here's what I can offer, this is the best I can offer, and they're just turning around and going, you what? Because this is the consequence, isn't it? We can talk about the theory of it all, but the actual consequence is, horrific for so many people.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the average client I have, or for the clients I have, the average increase that I'm looking at when I'm remortgaging them is about £450 a month. Now, that's an awful lot, to find, especially when everything else is squeezed. We talk about tricks. We talk about extending the mortgage term to lower the monthly rate. We talk about potentially interest only, if that is an option for you, to again reduce that monthly rate. And I've got one client who I know they won't mind me. I won't give their name, but I'm working with them at the moment. They were lucky enough to receive a bequest. And instead of spending it on a car, which is what they wanted, they put it against their mortgage. And it was only by reducing their mortgage by 20% that they could get anywhere near their current mortgage rate when they're remortgaging in a month's time. Now, most people don't have that option, but those are the sort of choices that people are making. Overpay, use your savings, put it against the mortgage just to bring that down, because, as I say, £400 is an awful lot.
Well, yeah, and then you can get yourself on a better footing, I suppose, and then think about the car, ultimately, if that's...
Well, that would be nice.
You kind of have to put things in order if you're in that position, don't you? But then the idea, overpaying, it's difficult because if you're talking about your savings, some people are lucky to have savings. Other people can only dream of that based on their circumstances. But if you have it, the idea of saying, the best thing to do, and I listen to the advice, and the best thing to do will be to stick that into the mortgage or whatever it might be. But you have savings for if sometimes things go wrong. Or,
rainy days.
Yeah, exactly. You need that pot, don't you? And I understand the kind of economic sense of it, your personal economic sense of it, but actually, that's often why people have savings.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great choice, is it, at all? And it makes you feel more vulnerable, and people are feeling vulnerable enough at the moment. I suppose it depends on whether the increase in your mortgage payment is going to be a real issue for you in affording it. For a short term, it might be worth using your savings in that way, especially if your savings are in an instant access type situation where you're not perhaps getting the best return. You have to weigh it up. But it's not a nice choice. And there are 800,000 people coming off their fixed rate between now and November, when potentially we might well have had a reduction. So that's an awful lot of people who are facing a hike from what 1.4, 1.6 to 4.5%. It's a massive amount.
But it's all so dependent, isn't it, on what equity you've got. You start looking and think, okay, well, that's a more favourable rate, but that's only going to apply if your circumstances determine that it's going to be beneficial for you, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's definitely not one size fits all. No. Everybody's, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but everybody is so individual, and their situation is so nuanced to their circumstances. You really have to deep dive into it and work out a bespoke solution for people, which is why I love the job. I love getting the nitty gritty of it and helping. But it's certainly not just a quick.
And I suppose it's how quickly a lot of those lenders want to pass on a change in interest rates as well, isn't it? You know, because sometimes you see some of them really leading the pack and they think, right, we're going to get ahead of this. But that doesn't mean the whole of the market's going to follow.
Oh, no, it's up and down all the time. I mean, most lenders in the last 2 weeks have upped their rates, reacting to what the city has said will happen, i.e. we will not be getting a decrease anytime soon. But what happens is when they're victims of their own popularity. So if they lead with a really good headline rate, everybody rushes to get that rate.
Yeah.
And then floods it. Basically borrows all that money that they've got at that level, and then you find that the lender has to withdraw that rate incredibly quickly. We've had it with less than 24 hours notice. Now, I might be talking to a client, I might have that rate ready to go. We've worked on it, they've decided on it, it's perfect. And then you go to apply and it's just not there anymore, which is very disappointing because as sure as eggs are eggs, the rate that you can then get them is higher. So it's this roller coaster of emotion.
That is just another example of how dysfunctional our housing market is, isn't it, really? Everything becomes a race, whether it's going for the viewing, whether it's going for the bid, whether it's securing the mortgage. Why does life have to be like that?
Agents won't even let you in the door unless you've got a decision in principle.
Well, this is it. But, we are where we are for now, anyway. Anyway.
We can complain, but it won't do us any good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Sally, thank you. Thanks so much. Okay. Sally Mitchell, who's a senior mortgage broker at the Mortgage Mum. So more reaction to that news that the Bank of England have decided to keep interest rates at 5.25%. More analysis through the day on 5 Live and particularly on Drive, I would have thought, from 4 o'clock this afternoon.